And I made mistakes.
You've made mistakes?
Oh,
I wouldn't believe that.
Lots of mistakes. I could go on and on. I could tell about being at a yard sale and a poor man passed away in front of me. I don't like online because I have no personal connection with people. I was amazed. I looked at the postal rates on flat rate boxes. And to me, they've gone out of the ceiling.
Hi guys, thanks for checking out the channel. My name is Robbie. I do all things vintage, antique booth related. And today we have something truly special, which I'm super excited and proud of. I'm gonna talk to some people who have been in the industry a very long time. So we're talking many, many years of experience. Enjoy. Well, thank you. Hello, Dan. Hello, I've already said hello to him. I'll say it again. I am excited to have Dan because I think as a young professional, I've always been trained that you should always ask advice of people that are older than you or have been doing it longer than you have in whatever job that you're in. So like when I worked in tech before, I had like a mentorship, somebody that I would like go to if I had questions. Sure. And that's why I like Dan, because he's who I go to when I have questions and when I need to know something about the antique business, because he's been in it so long. So what I think I'd love to start with first is just knowing like a little bit more about you, how long you've been doing this, and where you sell antiques.
I've been in business over 50 years. I started doing flea markets. I helped my sister-in-law move, and she had things to get rid of. So my first experience was flea markets, and I really liked it.
Yeah.
So then I started buying.
Was that in California?
California.
Yeah.
And I started buying vintage items at that point, and antique items. And then I learned that you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah. Because if you get something that's not an actual antique or vintage, it's kind of like you can't sell a dud, right?
Right.
Then you got garbage.
Well, I guess it is sellable, but
right.
You know, you just have to go to a different type of
Right,
market.
or it has less value, right?
Right,
yeah.
Right. The years I've learned that knowledge is the key.
Yeah. Knowledge is the key, definitely. And you said you've been doing this for 50 years.
Correct.
And you have a shop here, or you have a brick and mortar store here, which is in Niles Antique Co-op. And what's the name of your business here?
Grimes Collectique.
Okay.
Of Niles Antiques.
And you're in the very back, or you're throughout the store, or?
I'm throughout the store.
Okay, so you might walk across Grimes Antiques when you're in the store, whether you're on one side or the other, because we do have like 35.
Correct.
Or we have a lot of dealers. I'm not sure.
We have 12 dealers.
12 now. He's also the manager, so he would know exactly how many we have. So we have 12 dealers. Okay. And do you sell online? But you said flea markets as well. Do you still do that?
I do the Alameda Antique Fair.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is once a month. That's only.
Which is in Oakland, right?
It's in the city of Alameda.
Alameda. Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Where the old Alameda Naval Air Station is.
Okay. Do you have like a certain booth space or a certain area that you're always in?
Yeah, I'm always in F either 18 or 19.
Okay, F18 or 19 for everybody who's looking for him. And then do you have a specialty or a certain type of thing that you like to sell the most?
Okay, I sell a wide variety of merchandise, which I've learned is the key.
Ah, okay. You heard it here.
You can't stick to one item. You need to gain your knowledge and pick a wide variety of items, so when people come to your booth or your store, they have a wide variety to choose from.
Yeah.
So even though some people like to specialize, and you can specialize, I do have my specialties within this area.
And there's some people that they follow a trend. Like they say, okay, well right now trendy is like mid-century modern, and they'll follow that trend, and then they'll only sell mid-century modern because they think, okay, well it's more likely being picked up and purchased. But you think that the best thing you can do is actually have variety. That way anybody who walks into the shop can find something that they like.
Exactly.
Yeah. For somebody who's starting out, so I did this video originally because I wish this was the video someone did for me when I was first going into the business. I would say there's a lot of people who are in the business that's a little bit older, that have been in it longer. And then there's fresh new faces like myself who come in and start the business. They obviously don't know everything. They're willing to learn, but they have to kind of break their teeth to learn what you need to learn to be successful in business. So
and I think I have to be tough with my dealers so that they do bring in the type of merchandise that we want, because we're known for a certain type of antiques.
Right.
And we hear people coming in all the time in this store saying, oh, this is a real antique store.
Or they say this is the best store they've ever been to, which I love.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. What advice would you give someone like myself who's starting out in the business, if there was something you wanted to share with them so that they could be successful?
Be willing to learn. And that's not by taking your camera and taking a picture on Google and saying, oh, that's the item. Mm-hmm. Because that may be the item, it may not be the item. Mm-hmm. It may be a reproduction, it may be a knockoff, it could be several different things. So you need to go to your books.
Right. He was telling me when he first started out in the business, he didn't sit at a computer learn everything. He pulled books from the shelf and every night would study them at night.
Well, actually, there were no computers.
So at night he would study books to learn all the different antiques and the markings and stuff like that. And that's.
But then you have to go to the shops. You have to go to antique shows. Mm-hmm. You have to go to the flea markets that carries antiques.
I would even say auction houses too are really good.
And auction houses.
Because they do a lot of validity, and they do a lot of study on like the items that they have. So when you go to an auction house, you can see you'll know that item's a real item, and you can see the markings and how it's made and like.
And the other thing is what a lot of young people don't understand. A lot of things aren't marked.
Yeah.
And they can be very valuable items.
Right, which is not my forte. I look for a marking because it's easier to memorize the marking, but he might be able to look at an item and know that it's a good vintage item and doesn't have anything on it.
Correct, yeah. Exactly.
Right.
Which is it's really valuable when you're out in the field and you're at if you're at another shop, because I buy from shops. Mm-hmm. Or whether you're at the flea market, or whether you're at a vintage fair or an antique show, wherever you may be, you go in there, and some places you go, you have to make immediate decision because there are a bunch of people there also looking for the similar items.
Right.
And if you have to take your Google lens and you take things over in the corner, not only do you alienate other dealers by taking the things in the corner, because then they don't have the option to buy them.
Yeah.
And that's sort of not really appropriate for that type of sale that you go to.
Yeah, in the setting that you're in, yeah.
You just need to sort of know your goods.
Know your goods, yeah. Know your, regardless if they're marked or not.
And after you go to the books or the internet to learn about things.
Yeah.
Nothing is like touching, feeling, and looking at the item in person.
Yeah.
So that's why the Hillsborough Antique Show is coming up this weekend. And that's a great learning place.
Oh, okay.
Because there are things there that you'll never see again.
Hillsborough
Antique Store in the San Mateo Fairgrounds.
Oh, okay. All right.
And it's just a fantastic place
and
to learn about
I'll link
antiques.
it below so that you guys can see. Maybe they have like a .com or like an Instagram account.
Do.
Okay.
They do.
And I'll link it so everybody can see what that is. Speaking of items and knowing your items, is there a specific item that you once picked up that you thought you weren't sure if it was good, but it ended up being something really, really good?
Yeah, my wife and I picked up, we were in Pennsylvania, and we were going to various antique stores and shopping and going to flea markets and that sort of thing. And there was this little guy having a little garage sale by the side of the road, and so we pulled over and we bought a Nelson clock, spoke clock, mid-century. Didn't know exactly, at that point I didn't know what that was.
Right.
We looked it up, and that one I did put on eBay because at that point nobody was doing mid-century. And actually there was a bidding war between a gentleman in Japan and an antique clock collector.
Oh.
It wasn't a mid-century person.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they wanted it for their collection.
They wanted it to finish their collection.
And that was on eBay, so they kept bidding back and forth.
Right.
Interesting.
So I ended up with, I think the clock sold for $1,200 and we paid $3.
That's a good turn. $1,200 from $3.
Now that is a pretty rare occursion that happens, but
that's the kind of
it
stories
is
I
possible.
love.
Yeah.
Like as an antique dealer myself, like I love finding something and realizing later that it's worth a lot of money, right?
The other thing that going to antique stores and shows do for people that people don't understand, your eye just learns to see the valuable things.
Oh yeah.
You know.
And I would also say it's curated. It's like you don't have to be dumpster diving, looking through a bunch of stuff, not knowing what's of value or not. At least when you come to an antique store like Niles Antiques Co-op, you know that it's worth value because someone's already done the work and the homework to make sure to know what the value of is before you put it on the shelf.
And the other thing I think that's valuable about antique stores is we're actually the finders.
Yeah.
And you don't have to make through all that effort. And not only do we find it, we clean it.
Right.
We have it shop ready, so it's ready to go to your home.
Yeah, there's a sign actually next to the plaque over there that I'll film or I'll insert here. It says like, we find it, we clean it, we ship it, we pack it with care. Like we do all of these things before they actually end up in the shop.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. What are some of the biggest challenges that you faced in this industry?
I guess the biggest challenge for most people is paying your rent. Over the years, there was only 1 month in all that time that I haven't paid my rent.
Oh, the rent issue. That yes, you have to make
I haven't had enough money to pay the rent. It's only been 1 month.
Okay, well, that's pretty good, I would say, as a new person.
And I think the answer is though that you have to have quality merchandise. And you have to display it well, and you have to clean it, and you have to be friendly, and there's a dozen things, a million things that you have to be
willing to
as an
help,
antique dealer.
willing to be able to be able to articulate information about whatever the antique is, the product, right? Because I think people expect that when they're buying it. They want to know the history of it too.
Right. Another mistake a lot of dealers make that do the internet and have a shop.
Yeah.
They're at the desk and they're on the internet, and you can come in. They don't say hello. They don't interrelate with you.
Yeah.
And you have to know the people, and you have to get to know your customers. And there's one customer comes in mind that paid my rent for like 5 years because he was a collector of a certain item. I'm not going to say what at this point. Sort of protect his interest.
But he always bought something from you.
He bought every week that he came into the shop, and he came into the shop every week. And we became great friends, and
love that. You
So
have returning customers,
thing. Yes.
people who know you for those things and they come back for them. Okay. And is there anything that you regretted selling because you loved it so much that you wish you hadn't have sold it?
Not really, because I learned from the very beginning that if you really love it, then you should keep it and not bring it to the shop.
So there are things, though, that you found while you're doing this that you've never sold to anybody that you've kept for yourself.
Oh, yeah. Lots of items.
Okay. Can you name one that you really like that you kept?
I collect antique Christmas.
Okay.
And there's a zillion items.
In your house?
It seems like that I've collected. But I'm also well known for my Christmas collection.
Right.
And I'm probably the Bay Area's, I would say, biggest dealer of antique Christmas.
Yeah. And I would also say he's also a great dealer of antique Halloween too as well.
Correct.
So
all holidays, actually.
Yeah. Oh, all holidays? Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
You also have to get to know sort of what your clientele is willing to spend in the area you're in.
Yeah. What are some of the common mistakes that you see new dealers doing?
I think the biggest mistake they make is trying to, sell thrift store items as antiques.
Yes. Right. And I do think that is a big mistake that people make because they'll get the false impression sometimes that a thrift store item is a good that's good enough to sell in an antique store. I've fallen victim to it myself. When I first started out, I would follow or watch certain people like Crazy Lamp Lady, which I love. She's great. She makes great content, but she shops a lot of her stuff at Goodwill or thrift stores, and it's not like quality stuff. It's just like she's in the number transaction game, like as many as she can.
Right.
Doesn't matter if, you know what I mean? Doesn't matter if it's a $2 profit or a $3 profit. When sometimes, like you said, you have to pay your rent as a new vintage reseller, and a $2 to $3 profit isn't good enough. You know what I mean? And a small piece that's at a lower price isn't going to make your rent.
Well, and as I say, a shelf item, you can put a $2 item that's a foot by a foot and make $4 or $6. And you can buy another item maybe that you paid $25 and get $75.
Yep.
So it just makes more sense to save your money and don't
Buy
be
good things.
compulsive to buy those things that you think might sell.
Right. Which I think is hard to do.
Right.
To hold on to your money and not buy it. What's been your best-selling item over the years?
Lord. Because I sell a wide variety of items, I think that I specialize in men's items is one thing I sell. That's been very good for me. Christmas has been good for me. Except for it's very, very difficult to find good vintage Christmas.
Right. Right.
And I belong to a Christmas club, international thing called Golden Glow, and I go to their conventions, and that's where I source some of my things from other collectors.
Yeah. Yeah.
That are changing their
I would
collections.
say for me, some of my best sellers in my booth have been glassware, cups, specifically mid-century modern cups. But the problem with cups is it's so hard to ship. They're very heavy, and then you have multiples, and then they're also breakable, right?
Correct.
So it's like the triple whammy, right? But if you can figure out a way to package them well, or if you have a brick and mortar store like Nell's Antique Co., you can put them out and people can see all of them, and you reduce the risk of something happening.
Right, and the other thing I just recently was amazed. I looked at the postal rates on flat rate boxes. And to me, they've gone out of the ceiling. I mean, you can't be selling a $5 item because postage will be $25 or $20.
Yeah, and Etsy.
So that means $30. So
and that's $30 for shipping, and then Etsy now does this thing where they want you to offer free shipping to your customer. So then you'll see prices start to inflate on products like $30 more, and then offer free shipping. It's not really free; they're just working that into the price
Correct.
of the item. So you might sometimes get to buy something cheaper when you walk into a brick and mortar store like this
definitely.
than when you're buying it online. In fact, my sales are actually better in store right now than they are online. So
yeah,
I'm seeing that
people
trend.
Find that, and I don't like online because I have no personal connection with people.
Right.
And I guess part of my thing is I sort of like to know who my items are going to. That gives me a connection with a lot of people. I've met a lot of great friends over the years.
Oh, okay, good. This is a good one. We haven't asked this to anybody else. So, if your antique could talk, which one in your shop would have the juiciest gossip?
The juiciest gossip would be a bracelet I bought. And the bracelet it wasn't really the 7 deadly sins, but it was sort of Reno's idea of the deadly sins. There was dice, there was a chastity belt, there was charms of all these different items, cards. And so I had it in a case. And it was pretty valuable. And it disappeared.
Whoa.
It was stolen.
Someone stole it out of the case?
Right. I won't tell you how.
Oh yeah, no, we want we don't want to promote stealing, but it
was stolen.
Huh.
So my wife and a friend were at a show, and there it is in a booth.
No. Wow.
So I called the police.
Oh no.
And actually was able to recover the item.
Really? How did you do that? How did you prove that it was in your possession before?
Because it was such an odd item.
Oh, interesting.
And the lady that was with my wife was a dealer at this antique show, and she had taken it the month before. That was before we were doing that show.
What?
So she knew exactly what it was, and she's the one that grabbed my wife and said, "Look, there's your."
Oh my goodness! What happened to the person
It was so rare.
who stole the item?
Actually, the police said, "Just have him bring it to you."
Okay.
He said, "No, you need to." I said, "Where did you buy this item?" He says, "Oh, I buy scrap metal," and it came in with a bunch of scrap.
Okay.
And I said, "You should have a name. It's a pretty valuable item." And he says, "Well, I'll give it to you." But he says, "The only way I'll give it to you is if the next morning I'll meet you at your store and you have to sign a document that you won't take me to court.
Oh my goodness.
And you won't sue me or prosecute me."
Oh my goodness.
So that's what we did, and that's what the policeman suggested is the only way I could really get back the item without going through a big, horrendous
trial
court.
case.
Yeah, right.
Oh my goodness. Interesting. And is it gone now today? Somebody
bought it.
Yeah.
I think that's the juiciest.
Okay, good. Okay. All right, cool.
I mean, I could go on and on. I could tell about being at a yard sale and a poor man passed away in front of me. And how shoppers wanted to keep shopping.
Yes, please tell that story, because that one's really good.
Okay, I was at a nice yard sale. I stopped, and I was with a friend, and we stopped at the yard sale, and there was an elderly man and his daughter, and unfortunately the man had a heart attack.
He was walking through shopping as well, or was he
shopping?
Or was he doing it?
No, he was doing it with his daughter.
Okay, so the guy was running the yard sale with his daughter,
right?
And Dan was there shopping. Okay,
right. And he suddenly dropped to the ground, and his daughter knew artificial respiration, so she started giving him artificial respiration. I actually had to tell the other customers to leave. And I told the lady that my friend and I would put everything in the garage and lock the padlock so she didn't have to worry about it. And off he went in the ambulance, and I do understand that he passed away.
So he dropped dead, and the people around keep shopping, looking for things, not even helping the man on the floor.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Well, thank you, Dan, so
you're
much
welcome.
for taking time to talk to us.
And as I say, the real key is knowledge.
Knowledge. Okay, so you heard it here first.
And the only way you do get it is by going to the books and going to the shows and the shops and touching the items, feeling the items, and looking at what you're buying.
Because it didn't happen overnight that you were successful at this.
Well, it sort of did, actually.
Okay.